Stormborn by Black K Cat. Chapter 28, Fourth Movement. Deceptive Cadence. Dissonant Duet. Deceptive Cadence. A chord progression that seems to lead to resolving itself on the final chord, but does not. Dissonant. Harsh, discordant, characterized by a lack of harmony. Also a chord that sounds incomplete until it resolves itself on a harmonious chord. Why? Obito demands, sharp and harsh, like thunder in the winded silence their pause has brought. The land around them is scarred, trees twisted and malformed from Mokuton and misdirected jutsus alike. Obito himself is nearly untouched thanks to his healing rate, but his clothes are ripped and torn and soaked where he couldn't quite avoid Naruto's blows fast enough, and his mask has cracked almost in half. As Naruto braces himself against a chunk of stone that once belonged to Konoha's wall, trying to get his wind back, the Uchiha, Kagami's son, and Naruto doesn't know whether that fact should leave him overjoyed or aching, takes a threatening step forward, chakra rising and crackling around him like the fire he seems so fond of. Why what? Naruto returns, planting Saji's butt in the earth and smoothing his thumb over the largest seal on the haft. It pulses weakly, with energy wavering and unsteady. It's eating the chakra from Obito's jutsus the way it's supposed to, but the seal's activation is dependent on Naruto returning the attacks. And he's never been skilled with Katon jutsus. And in addition to that, there's little hope of landing a blow to transfer the target seal, so for now, all he can do is let the power build up and hope it doesn't blow up in his face. Literally. Obito growls, rough and furious, and Kamui's warping vortex opens just long enough to send a hail of exceptionally fast, deadly shuriken whooping out of the other dimension. With a soft curse, Naruto uses Saji's bracing to kick off the ground, leaping upward and propelling himself high enough to dodge the cloud of weapons. He has to admit that Obito is exceptionally skilled with Kamui, even augmenting his strength with Mogotan. Kagami never thought of half these uses for, and he had the advantage of family records and knowledge of the ancestor who previously activated it. Why are you fighting? Obito snarls, and even as Naruto drops back to the ground, he's blurring forward, branches bursting from the ground like fingers set to impale. Don't you want to live in a world where all your dreams can come true? Don't you want to live without suffering, without pain? You could be happy! Naruto laughs at that, bringing the Najinada's blade around to slice neatly through the reaching branch, and then leaping nimbly over the Naruto fruits that rises to grab him. Kurama bristles and roars inside his head, his chakra adding an extra edge of speed to let him keep up with Obito as the Uchiha trades Mokutan for the battle fan strapped to his back. A perfect dream world! Naruto scoffs, Saji slashing forward only to be met and blocked by the Gunbai. Why would I want something like that? The dreams and goals I have right now are what make all the pain worthwhile. They're what make me keep walking, what let me move forward. And it's the pain that makes them real. If we didn't have to work for our dreams, they'd be completely worthless. He leaps back out of range of the Gunbai as Obito brings it arching around like a flame and forms the hand seals for a familiar jutsu, calling it up one-handed as Saji fends off another clutch of grasping branches. The Rasengan whirls from his fingertips, its imbued wind chakra tearing over the already battle-scarred earth, but Obito brings the war fan up like a shield, bracing himself behind it, and the Rasengan bursts against it, leaving deep furrows on either side of him, but doing little else. Obito laughs then, dry as dust, low and sharp, with more pain than Naruto has ever heard in anyone's voice before, and it's a shock! Because Naruto has heard a similar laugh, only that one was wry and self-depreciating and angry at one clan, rather than the entire world. Kagami sounded similar on his wedding day, so full of loathing with a good portion of it self-directed. Worthless? He asks, and that low voice is even rougher than before. Look at your own life, Uzumaki Naruto. Look at those you call your friends. Your sacrifices. You were innocent children, and your villages took you and made you into monsters for the sake of their dreams. Think of all you suffered since their blind loathing and their exclusion of a child who never harmed them. Tell me, is that kind of pain worth it? Wouldn't everything be better if no more children ever had to go through something like that? What if it was your child? Would you still be so dismissive of a world without pain and hatred and fear? He does think about it, because he always does. He thinks about Gaara, so solemn and wise. Fu, so bright and cheerful. Utakata, so kind and serene. Roshi, so unwaveringly loyal and infinitely stubborn. Killer B, so infectiously jubilant and at peace with himself. Yukito, so proud and fierce. They've all been hurt somehow. They've all been turned out or cast away at some point in their lives, but Naruto honestly can't say that he thinks any of them would choose to remake themselves if given the chance. They've all found a home with each other, even if it's not solely in Uzushio. And they're all better for it, Naruto included. Being a Jinchuriki is a burden, but it's also an honor. They were chosen to be their village's strength, the balances of power in a world where might is everything. And that hasn't changed just because they've all picked another path than the one of suffering they were supposed to walk. The pain makes us appreciate what we have, he counters, planting his feet stubbornly and meeting the Sharingan eyes nearly concealed behind that mask. It means that we love our comrades all the more, our friends all the more, and it means we'll fight to the death for them if we have to keep what we've earned with our pain. So you can keep your perfect fantasy world, Obito. We'll all fight to keep this one because it's ours. Hey, Kurama, he calls silently, letting Saji drop until the tip of the shining blade rests against the ground. What do you say we indulge in a bit of overkill? The fox laughs, wicked and eager, understanding the reference immediately. Oh, brat, I thought you'd never ask. Naruto chuckles, and 4 quick sweeps of the blade leave the outline of a seal in the earth. Another 3 fill the interior, and Naruto ducks away from a hail of kunai as Obito interrupts, attempting to stop him, but it's already too late. The blood on Saji's blade from the few swipes that manage to connect is more than enough, and as the last line connects, the very air shivers. Deep in the woods, hidden behind 7 seals that whisper, "Don't look, don't pause, there's nothing to see," to anyone close enough, a much larger seal begins to shine. In the sky, stretched above all of Konoha and the majority of the surrounding valley, there are clouds that have been gathering for an entire week now, collecting moisture and raising the humidity to almost unbearable levels. They're heavy and bloated, but not only with rain. Wound through them, part of their very makeup is nature chakra, so subtle and randomly scattered that even a Hyuga would dismiss it as a natural occurrence if they noticed it at all. When the seal is triggered, the clouds finally do what they haven't been allowed this past week, and it's like the sky itself breaks open, all that stored water thundering down on their heads in the form of a heavy, drenching downpour. Uzushio's fall taught Naruto that stacking his deck can only ever help, and he's taken that lesson very much to heart. He's good at futon jutsus, but unless he's around large bodies of water, his suiton is forced to take fairly distant second. In Uzushio, with the ocean on all sides and beneath the city itself, this is usually no problem, but Konoha is a desert in comparison. Unless there's a rainstorm to even the odds. Naruto laughs, even as he whirls away from a spiral of fire that fills the air with steam. Saji flashes in the half-light, spinning around his fingers in the movement that Danzo first recognized. But now, with so much water in the air and already beginning to pool on the ground, it's hardly the grandstanding showy move it first appears. This time, the water follows, whipping itself into a furious vortex that surges forward like a gaping mouth, and Naruto lets it go. A part of him believes he should feel hesitant, bringing his full strength to bear against his best friend's long-lost son, but the rest of him drowns it out. He defeated Haku the first time they met, and Gaara too, and now both of them are his closest friends. With any luck, Obito will be the same. Kamui whirls Obito out of the way before the surge of water can reach him, but this is Naruto's battlefield now, his advantage, and he closes his eyes, letting the chakra split into each raindrop be his guide. The faintest hint of movement where there should be none, and he spins, wind blades flying, a low and fast-moving wave just behind them. There's a curse, another surge of chakra, and Obito phases right through both jutsu. Gunbai already flying as he becomes tangible again. Naruto ducks to the side, his Naginata's steel-capped butt slamming into the broad side of the whipping and throwing it off target. Obito is there to catch the fan as it rebounds, though, and he twists with the momentum of it, letting it pull him around to face Naruto once more. He catches Saji's blade against the metal reinforcements on his glove, knocks it aside, and lunges in, the looped chain swinging like a weapon. In a split-second decision, Naruto relinquishes his grip on the Naginata in favor of having both hands free for seals, and his fingers fly through the next set, even as he ducks under the chain and very purposefully doesn't step back, even with Obito dangerously close to him. The chain swings again, but Naruto raises his arm to block it, only sparing a brief fluence as the heavy links connect with a crack of breaking bone. His free hand lashes out, and Obito is too close to dodge, can't go intangible without releasing Naruto, so the Azure Dragon palm hits him squarely in the chest. The spiraling torrent of water knocks him completely off his feet as it throws him back, and he smashes into a portion of the wall that's still standing, striking the stone with enough force to make him cry out. Naruto staggers back, clutching his arm to his chest even as the bone snaps back into place. Kurama's fiery red chakra mending the break in the thorn skin before he can so much as ask. A low echoing snarl pulls his attention back to his opponent, just in time to see Obito pull himself out of the fractured wall. As he takes a step forward, the already cracked mask shatters the rest of the way, pieces of white porcelain tumbling down around his feet, and Naruto gets his first clear look at his friend's son. He doesn't look like Kagami. That jaw is too narrow, the features a little more elegant, more refined. Azami's blood, most likely. Naruto, as Warashi, often teased Kagami that he looked more like some street fighter, all squared off and stubborn, rather than a noble and polished Uchiha. And Naruto's hair is too thick to fly away to be Kagami's, which was dead straight and never deigned at the girl. Those brows are too fine and the mouth too full. It's clear that Obito takes after his mother rather than his father. But the eyes, slanted and dark and intent. Those are Kagami's eyes. Even beyond the Mugyenkyo they bear. Slowly, deliberately, Obito wipes the water off his face and brushes his sodden bangs to the side. His gaze never wavers from Naruto, though. "You are the Kage," he says flatly. "You are the strength of your village, the one they entrust with all of their hopes and dreams. But tell me, Naruto, what will happen if you let them down? What will happen if you fail them?" Naruto closes his eyes, fighting back the memory of blood pooling in the streets, the bodies of his people piled behind walls and against the buildings, of a red tide, a shattered fleet, a war that couldn't be halted or won no matter how hard or long he fought. The rain batters him and it feels cold, frozen, compared to the warmth of mere moments ago, because really, if that wasn't a failure, what would it be? Obito takes his silence to mean that the blow struck true, and Naruto can't even say he's wrong. It was well aimed, if nothing else. "Do you see now what I mean? If you fail, those who claim to love you now will turn their backs on you and make everything utterly meaningless. It's empty. This world, words like hope and trust and have faith, they're all empty. They mean nothing at all. No matter how you try to justify them by saying you've earned them through your pain." Just this once, Naruto can't reply. The words frozen in his throat. He doesn't look away, but it's a near thing. For his part, Obito seems to take no pleasure in scoring a verbal hit. His eyes are dark, his expression grim, and though his gaze doesn't waver, there's nothing even close to victory in it. Just a bitter sort of resignation, with an edge of deeply seated anger at the world at large. Then, from within Naruto's mind, Kurama rumbles, "Brat, move over. Give me a minute with him." Surprised but hardly weary after so many years as symbiotic partners, Naruto slides away, lets the fox take control of his body. Kurama shakes himself as he rises to the surface, adjusting to being momentarily bipedal, and growls in a voice that is several measures deeper than Naruto's own. "Hey, you honestly think that way?" There's a brief hesitation as Obito's eyes narrow, his chakra flaring. "The Kyuubi, I presume," he says coolly. "Surely you of all creatures know that I'm telling the complete truth." Kurama snorts, crossing his arms and lifting his chin. "But you're forgetting something." He taunts, the mocking edge to his voice clear. "You're overlooking the fact that it's human nature to make the best of a bad situation. Look at the brat. He grew up an orphan, hated the classes, dead last, a loser at everything." "Hey!" Naruto protests. "That was a combination of teacher's prejudice and me underestimating my own strength, thank you." "Even if he was a genius somewhere deep, deep down, Kurama tacks on smoothly, though Naruto very much does not appreciate the sarcasm at the end there. The first time around, his village was destroyed and he had to watch. But the people still came back. They put themselves in his hands knowing who he was because they had hope and faith and all those other things you're mocking right now. And we've only ever met a chakra impression of the brat's father, but he was willing to do the same and seal me into Naruto, believing that it would make the world a better place. And the brat did make it better. No matter what happened afterwards, in the end, Naruto lived up to their expectations. He's done everything in his power to make everyone's dreams possible, and everyone knows it. So keep your skepticism to yourself! Kurama subsides with a last offended, embarrassed huff, and Naruto comes back to himself, laughing warm all the way through. Thanks, Kurama, he says lightly, but he knows that the fox will hear the sincerity buried underneath. You're a big softy, did anyone ever tell you that? No one will live to see the next day, Kurama growls threateningly, but is clearly off show. Now stop jawing and kick his butt, brat! Naruto grins and scoops up Saji from where she's lying off to the side. He twirls her through his fingers as he rises, and a wave of water follows the motion. I'll beat it into you if I have to, he threatens with a sharp grin. This world's worth fighting for, and so is everyone in it! Obito's eyes narrow to dangerous slits, and as Naruto throws himself forward, wind and water leading, Obito lunges to meet him, fire turning the rain to hissing vapor as he goes. The heavens open when they're halfway to the walls, drenching them within seconds, and Minato can't quite hold back an aggrieved sigh as the formerly dry streets turn to veritable rivers beneath their sandals. He splashes through a particularly deep puddle, then leaps for the rooftop, Sarutobi on his left and the unknown Uchiha on his right. Spectacular Konoha weather, he huffs, squinting to see through the rain. They're looking for stragglers, even as they make their cautious way east, where two opponents who are Kage level, at the very least, are locked in combat. Minato can feel the Kyuubi's chakra flaring, even from here, corrosive and angry, and worry bubbles like acid in his gut. If the Kyuubi has gotten free, if the seal is broken... Well, this time it had some help, the Uchiha says, with poorly buried amusement, and Minato glances over at him, blinking in surprise. The man catches his look and flashes him a grin that definitely isn't Uchiha's standard. Gods know Fugaku would have looked quite a bit less constipated if he'd allowed even half that emotion through his mask. It's Arashi. He's called the Storm God for a reason, you know. This is one of his signature moves. Once he lays down the seal, he can call up a storm in an hour or two. And from the looks of this one, he grimaces slightly as he hops a rain gutter that's already close to overflowing. It's been brewing a whole lot longer than that. Minato is familiar with the title, but little beyond it. Almost nothing beyond what Jiraiya told him when he'd passed on the bells for the team test, and the brief mention Kushina once made of the Saindame Uzukage when she was showing him some of Uzushio's seals. He was an Uzumaki, wasn't he? He asks, trying to picture the sort of man who could earn such a name so young. Round-headed, likely, given his clan, probably tall and imposing, and... It was, Sarutobi confirms, his eyes constantly flickering back to the walls, even as they scan the streets for more of the clones. But he spares a moment to glance at Minato, a faint wry smile pulling at his lips. He looked very much like you, actually, Minato. A little shorter, a little thinner, but the shape of your faces is almost the same. The Uchiha hums, softly in agreement, then blurs through a set of hand seals that blows out a very large fireball, roasting a clone that just turned onto the main street. He grimaces as he turns away, muttering, Come on, Arashi, you never did have the consideration for people with fire affinities. Minato wants to ask something more, anything. Was that one of the reasons you picked me over Orochimaru? Because I look like the Storm God? He thinks, but doesn't say, because he is actually aware of his own worth. But before he can, Sarutobi glances around them and says with well-hidden impatience, This is enough, I think. We can be of more use over there. Finally! The Uchiha. Minato thinks he heard Sarutobi call him Kagami. Huffs. Already picking up speed over the slippery rooftops. The Saindame matches him, and Minato keeps to his other side, eyes scanning the village as they run. It looks quite a bit different than the last time he saw it, heading out to meet the Kyuubi, but some things are still the same. And... this is where Naruto grew up. This is where Naruto lives, where he probably became a shinobi. his son! Kushina's son! Naruto, he says to Sarutobi as they leap a side street and make their way over a grocery store. He would like to think that his voice doesn't come out desperate, but that's probably a vain hope. How is he? Or was he last time you saw him? And probably a simple light to bring up the fact that Sarutobi too is dead, but Minato honestly doesn't really care at this point. His son is somewhere nearby, somehow, in the middle of this, if Orochimaru's words are anything to go by. Minato physically can't keep from asking. Sarutobi glances at him, offering a faint smile, like he knows what Minato is thinking. Very well, he says warmly. He's a prankster, but a genius too. Kakashi was his Jonin instructor, and the last time I saw him, he went to face down the Ichibi in the middle of the Chunin exams. He is very much like his mother, and like you. In front of them, something explodes in a burst of sharp-edged wind and a surge of water, and Kagami redoubles his pace, quickly outstripping the duo. Kage Minato debates grabbing one of his Hiraishin kunai, but they're almost at the wall regardless, and this is one situation he doesn't want to drop into unprepared. If that really is the Kyuubi possessing Naruto, he's not entirely sure what else he can do, but he will try absolutely anything. Then, with a whirl of water and the bright chime of bells, there's a figure on top of the wall beside them, a long Naginata spinning through deft figures. Minato gets a brief impression of long blonde hair, blue cloth, and sea blue eyes before someone else appears. This one is heart-wrenchingly familiar, and if the widening of those Sharingan eyes is anything to go by, just as surprised to see Minato as Minato is to see him. But that face, that hair, they're both unmistakable. Even so much older than when Minato last saw this boy, headed towards Kanabi Bridge. He freezes, famous reflexes completely useless in the face of this ghost, and can't even speak to ask how Obito is still alive. It's almost the death, again, of all three of them, because the blonde dodges half a second before a hail of shuriken burst out of thin air, impossibly fast and spinning dangerously. Sarutobi is staring at the blonde, and Kagami seems torn as to who he should stare at first, and Minato is, understandably, distracted by Obito, so none of them quite think to move out of the way in time. It's the blonde man who saves them, leaping back in with his Naginata leading, an arc of wind interrupting like a shield at the last moment to turn the shuriken away. Even as a trio of clones lunge for Obito and carry him back into the trees, bells chime again, and this time Minato catches sight of the source of the sound. Belled kanzashi tucked haphazardly into the man's soaked hair. But the charm seems ever so slightly off to Minato's ears. He blinks and listens a bit more closely as the man turns and then promptly loses that train of thought and just about every other for good measure. Because it's Kushina's face staring back at him, only with his own coloring. Blue eyes and blonde hair, the same slanting eyes, but those cheekbones, that bone structure, that jaw, all the same as we would see looking at his wife. Minato tries to take a breath but feels it caught somewhere down in his lungs because this is unmistakably, undeniably his son. Blue eyes, the same shade as his own, grow wide, flickering to the newly arrived group, and then catch and freeze on the very first figure in line. Naruto's grip on the Naginata falters slightly, and he fumbles, lips parting and face paling, and Minato prepares to sweep forward and wrap his son in the first fatherly hug he's received since he was a single night old. But rather than leap at him, Naruto steps forward, letting the Naginata fall to the stone and whispers, "Kagami?" Arachi! The Uchiha crows, delight and relief suffusing his features, and he lunges forward across the separating distance and latches onto Naruto, hugging him with what must be truly crushing force. But Naruto hugs him back the exact same way, laughing with disbelieving joy as they thump each other on the back and stagger a few steps in a loose approximation of a circle. I'm so sorry, Arashi, Kagami is chanting, and somehow Minato doesn't think the wetness on his cheeks is due only to the rain. I failed you, I'm so sorry, they came out of nowhere and I couldn't... Gods, what happened? How are you still here? How do you still look like you're a teenager? Naruto, Arashi? Laughs, a choked sound that's equal parts joy and grief. He pulls away slightly, even as a burst of water and wind erupts from the trees below. Like an explosion going off, he leans in, knocking his forehead against Kagami's and closing his eyes. Don't say that, he murmurs. Don't you dare, you stupid Uchiha. You tried. You gave everything you could, and that's all that matters. Uzushio is strong again. It's fine, but you died, and I didn't even know. I should never have let you go alone. I'm the one who should be sorry. Never, Kagami tells him, tapping it lightly on the shoulder with one closed fist. You aren't the one who killed me, so you have nothing to be sorry for. It was Danzo. Naruto spits that name out like it's poison, and that's definitely the Kyuubi's chakra flaring around him. Minato is ridiculously confused right now. But at the sound of that name, Sarutobi goes stiff and tense next to him. Just the barest flicker of killing intent leaking out into the air. It was Danzo and his root. He organized the whole thing. Your attackers, the siege, the barrier, the Mizukage waiting until I was completely exhausted to find me. It was all him. But we got him. Kagami, we got him. Kagami laughs brokenly, leaning back slightly to press a quick kiss to Naruto's forehead before he ducks down again. Of course you did, Arashi, he huffs. Like you'd ever do anything else, you crazy, stubborn idiot. You died. Don't try to lie to me. I know what you're not saying, so how are you here? That gets a grin. Crooked but full of foxy humor, stretching the whisker marks on Naruto's cheeks. Uzushio, she says, as though that answers everything. She wanted me to come back, so she made me remember. And when I was reborn, it took a while for everything to click, but it did. That, Sarutobi says severely, is half of an explanation at best. He takes a step forward, and there's something in his face that Minato has never seen before. Too many emotions all mixed up and tangled together for anyone to read. He folds his arms across his chest, staring at the two men before him, and opens his mouth. Then he closes it again and simply shakes his head, clearly at a loss for words. Naruto just laughs. Saru! He offers cheerfully, stepping away from Kagami. Or would you rather I just call you Gigi? That's the question, isn't it? Sarutobi returns dryly. Naruto, Abashi. He breaks off and rubs at his forehead. You have always delighted in giving me my grades, no matter which lifetime we were in. He mutters. I should have guessed the first time you munched ramen off of me. Honestly, was that payback and the pranks, for heaven's sake? With a brilliant laugh, Naruto ducks forward to hug Sarutobi, to warm and tight, and Sarutobi wraps his arms around him in return with an affectionate, infinitely tolerant smile. And then Naruto is stepping away, and Minato is the last one in line. When the two pairs of blue eyes meet, Minato finds that he can't quite breathe. Our son, he thinks, marveling the same way he did the first time he held the tiny baby he and Kushina had created. This is our son. Hello, Naruto, he manages after an endless, breathless moment. And Naruto grins back at him. No hint of reprimand or resentment. Only bright, effusive warmth and the depth of love that Minato isn't entirely sure he deserves. Hey, Dad, he answered, and is quite possibly the best thing that Minato has heard in his entire lifetime. His son. Whatever questions he has, they don't matter. Just this here and now is amazing.